Hola, buenos dias, and welcome to another session of Learn Spanish with Faraz. In today's class, we are going to deal with definite articles, indefinite articles, and nouns. Now, nouns in Spanish are called sustantivos. Now, what is a noun? Noun could be a person, place, thing. In English, the nouns don't have a definite gender, but in Spanish, every noun has a gender. So every noun is either male or female. Every noun is either masculine or feminine. So how do you figure out which noun is masculine and which noun is feminine? Which is one of the most important aspects of learning Spanish because everything in Spanish changes according to the number and the gender of the noun. So most of the nouns, I would say 99% of the nouns that end in O are masculine, and 99% of the nouns that end in a are feminine. For example, casa, ending in a, feminine, which means house. Botella, which means a bottle, ending in a, feminine. Playa, which is a beach, again ending in a, that means it's a feminine noun. Libro, which is a book, again ending in o, that means it is a masculine noun. Bolígrafo, which is a pen, again ending in o, that means it's a feminine noun. Bolso, which means a bag, ending in o, that means it's a feminine noun. Chico, it's a boy, ending in o, means it is masculine. Obviously, boy is masculine. Chica, ending in a, that means it is a feminine noun. So most of the nouns that end in o are masculine, and most of the nouns that end in a are feminine. Now, you also have the definite article the in English that you use with nouns. For example, the table, the chair, the house, the book, the pen, the boy, the boys. In English, you only have one definite article, that is the. You use the same article with all the nouns. Doesn't matter whether your noun is masculine, doesn't matter if it is feminine, doesn't matter if it is plural. You always use the same definite article, the, with nouns. But in Spanish, this definite article, the, has four forms: masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, and feminine plural. So, the masculine singular form of the is el, and the feminine singular form of the is la. Now, with Spanish nouns, you have to be careful because I told you the Spanish nouns have genders, and you have to use the definite I'm sorry, you have to use the definite article according to your noun. That means your definite article always agrees with the number and the gender of the noun. So if your noun is masculine, you'll have to use el. If your noun is feminine, then you'll have to use la. For example, if I want to say the boy, boy is a masculine singular noun. In that case, it will be el chico. If I want to say the girl, in that case, it will be la chica. If I want to say the house, house is casa, which is a feminine singular noun. So the house will be la casa. The book, Again, book is libro, which is a masculine singular noun, so it will be el libro. So in Spanish, the definite article the always agrees with the number and the gender of the noun. You also have plural forms. Masculine plural is los, feminine plural is las. So if I wanted to say the boys, in that case, I would have to say los chicos. If I wanted to say the girls, that would be las chicas. One more thing, if you want to make plural of any noun in Spanish, if a noun ends in a vowel, that means if a noun ends in a, e, o, u, to make its plural, you simply add s in the end. For example, plural of chico will be chicos, chica will be chicas, casa will be casas, libro will be libros. So when a noun ends in a vowel, to make its plural, you just add s towards the end. Now let's do some more examples. If I want to say the book, that will be el libro. If I wanted to say the books, that would be los libros. Now, niño is a kid, that's a boy. Niña is a girl. If I wanted to say the kids, that would be los niños. If all the kids were feminine, then it would be las niñas. If I wanted to say the boy, the little boy, el niño, the little girl, la niña. The beach, la playa. The beaches, las playas. The lawyer, el abogado. And if that lawyer was feminine, then la abogada. If I was saying the lawyers, los abogados. If all the lawyers were feminine, las abogadas. So remember this, whenever you use definite article in Spanish, you always have to change it with the number and the gender of the noun. So far we know this, the nouns that end in O are masculine and the nouns that end in A are feminine. But there are some exceptions as well. There are some nouns that end in O, but they're not masculine, they're feminine. For example, photo, which is a photograph, moto, which is a bike or motor, mano, which is hand, and radio, which is radio. You have to be careful with these nouns. These are the exceptions. These are the nouns that end in O, but they're not masculine, they're feminine. These are your O ending exceptions. So if I wanted to say the photograph, I will have to say la foto. If I wanted to say the bike, la moto. The hand, la mano. The hands, las manos. If I wanted to say the photographs, in that case it will be las fotos. Have to be careful with these exceptions. Most of the nouns that end in O are masculine, but these are your exceptions. So keep in mind these exceptions. Now let's move to I ending exceptions. Now I told you most of the nouns that end in A are feminine, but there are some exceptions here as well. Your exceptions are dia, which is a day, planeta, which means a planet, sofa, which means obviously a sofa or a couch, mapa, which is map, and agua, which is water. Now, these are the nouns that end in a, but they're not feminine, they're masculine. So if I wanted to say the day el día, the planet el planeta, el sofá, el mapa, el agua. If I wanted to say the days, then it would be los días. If I wanted to say the planets, that would be los planetas. So once again, your O ending exceptions are photo, moto, mano, radio. Your I ending exceptions are dia, planeta, sofa, mapa, agua. Now, if I wanted to say the days of the week, now week is semana. Again, this will be a feminine noun because it is ending in a. Day is off. So if I wanted to say the days of the week, would be los días de la semana. If I wanted to say the friend, a friend is amigo. If I'm talking about my masculine friend, it would be el amigo. But if it was a girl, then it would be la amiga. If I was talking about friends, los amigos. And if all the friends were girls, las amigas. So these are the things that you need to keep in mind while using the definite article. Definite article in Spanish always agrees with the number and the gender of the noun. You need to remember the nouns that end in O are masculine. Your exceptions are radio, foto, moto, mano. The nouns that end in A are feminine. Your exceptions are dia, planeta, sofa, mapa, agua. Now there is another category which is ma ending nouns. All the ma ending nouns are masculine. Obviously, there are some exceptions here as well. So not all the ma ending nouns, most of the ma ending nouns are masculine. And don't confuse ma ending with I ending. It is different, right? Casa is an I ending noun. Poema, which is a poem, is a ma ending noun. Playa is an I ending noun. Problema is a ma ending noun. So don't confuse ma ending nouns with I ending nouns. A lot of students do that. They just look at this ending and they're like, oh, it is ending in a. Must be feminine. So they just write la poema, which is wrong. Remember, ma ending nouns are masculine. So if I wanted to say the poem, it would be el poema. If I wanted to say the poems, those poemas. The problem, el problema. The problems, los problemas. Pretty simple. So ma ending nouns are masculine. For example, sistema, which means a system, el sistema. Idioma, which means a language, el idioma. Tema, which means a topic or a theme or a subject, el tema. So remember, ma ending nouns are masculine, but we have some exceptions here as well. So ma ending exceptions are rama, which is a branch, kama, which is a bed, fama, which means fame, dama, which means a lady, so obviously masculine, and pluma, which means a pen or a feather. So remember this, ma ending nouns are masculine, and these are your exceptions. Rama, kama, dama, fama, pluma. These are your exceptions. So once again, let's go through all this. O ending nouns are masculine. Exceptions are radio, foto, moto, mano. I ending nouns are feminine. Only exceptions are dia, planeta, sofa, mapa, agua. Minding nouns are masculine. Exceptions are rama, kama, dama, fama, pluma. That's it, right? So you need to keep in mind the exceptions. Remember Rama, Kama, Dama, Fama, Pluma, Dia Planeta, Sofama, Bagua, Radio, Foto, Moto, Mano, these are your exceptions. So if I wanted to say the branch, now if I just write this, you would look at this. Oh, it is an I ending noun, so you would just write La Rama, which is wrong. It is, oh, sorry, L. Oh my God, I'm sorry. So if you look at the ending and you say, oh, it's my ending, so you would write El Rama, which would be completely wrong because it's an exception. So that will be La Rama. La cama, la dama, la fama, la pluma. So these are all your minding exceptions. Now, the nouns that end in sion, tad, dad, tud, and umbre are always feminine. No exceptions here. So any noun that ends in sion, tad, dad, tud, or umbre is always feminine without any exceptions. For example, la televisión, the television, ending in sion, obviously feminine. Publicación, again ending in sion, la publicación. Canción, which means a song, ending in sion, la canción. Libertad, which means freedom or liberty, ending in tad, la libertad. Unidad, which means a unit, ending in dad, la unidad. Costumbre, which means a custom or habit, ending in umbre, la costumbre. Muchedumbre, ending in umbre, again feminine, la muchedumbre. Juventud, which means youth, ending in tud, la juventud. Amistad, which means friendship, ending in tad, la amistad. Felicidad, which is happiness, ending in dad, la felicidad. So you need to remember all these things. The things that you need to remember while dealing with Spanish nouns are that first of all the nouns have a gender. So every noun is either masculine or feminine. The nouns that end in O are masculine. The only exceptions are radio, foto, moto, mano. The nouns that end in A are feminine. The only exceptions are dia, planeta, sofa, mapa, agua. Nouns that end in ma are masculine. Exceptions are rama, kama, dama, fama, pluma. Nouns that end in sion, tad, dad, tud, umbre are always feminine. No exceptions here. Now, there are some nouns that end in E, and there are some nouns that end in consonants. Now, with these nouns, there's no way of figuring out their gender, unfortunately, because there are some nouns that end in E that are masculine, there are some nouns that end in E that are feminine. There are some nouns that end in consonants that are masculine, some nouns that end in consonant that are feminine. So there's no way of figuring out just by looking at the ending of these nouns. With these nouns, it is better to memorize them or to learn them along with the article. That way you always remember the gender of the noun. For example, coche. Now, coche ending in E, coche is a car, which is el coche. So whenever you come across a noun that ends in E, it's better to memorize it along with the article. That way you never forget the gender of the noun. So just memorize it as el coche, not just coche. So when you're memorizing car, just memorize it as el coche. That way you will never forget the gender of the noun. Now there are some nouns that end in a consonant. For example, el tren. Again, it's a train, which is masculine, el tren. Flor, which is a flower, la flor. Fuente, which is a fountain, la fuente. Puente, which is a bridge, el puente. País, which is a city, el país. Sorry, country, el país. Calle, which is a street, la calle. Clase, which is a class, la clase. So the nouns that end in consonants or the nouns that end in E, there's no way of figuring out their gender just by looking at the endings. It could be either masculine or feminine. It's better to memorize these nouns along with the articles so that you remember the gender of the noun. So when you're memorizing these nouns, memorize them along with the articles. For example, street, la calle, car, el coche, flower, la flor, country, el país, fountain, la fuente. So these are all the rules that you need to know about masculine and feminine nouns. Once again, O ending nouns, masculine, exceptions radio, fotomoto, mano. A ending nouns, feminine, exceptions dia, planeta, sofá, mapa, agua. Ma ending nouns, masculine, exceptions rama, cama, dama, fama, pluma. The nouns that end in sion, tat, dat, tudumbre are always feminine, no exceptions there, thank God. And the nouns that end in E or consonants, there is no way of figuring out their gender. Unfortunately, you just have to memorize the gender of those nouns. Now, so you have definite article the, which has four forms el, la, los, las. You have masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, feminine plural. Don't confuse this L with this L. This L with the accent over E, this thing is called an accent, is your subject pronoun he. And this is your definite article the. Always remember that don't make that mistake. This is he, this is the. So if I wanted to say the boy, it will be el chico, right? If I wanted to say he is Ana, he is Andre, él es Andre. And the pronunciation is pretty much the same for both of these. L. But there's never any confusion while talking because you will never say da is Andre. You will never say he boy, right? So there's never any confusion while you're talking. But when you're writing these down, you have to make sure when you're using he, put the accent over E. And when you're using the, there's no accent over E. So these are your definite articles, ella, los, las. You also have indefinite articles. Now, indefinite articles in English are a and n. In Spanish, again, they're divided into four parts: un, una, unos, unas. This is masculine singular. This is masculine plural. This is feminine singular. This is feminine plural. That means a or n, and these are some. So, for example, if I wanted to say a book, un libro, a boy, un chico, a girl, una chica, a problem, un problema. I wanted to say some boys, unos chicos, some girls, unas chicas, some books, unos libros, some problems, unos problemas. So your definite articles are el, la, los, las, and your indefinite articles are un, una, unos, unas, right? So if I wanted to say the book, el libro, if I wanted to say a book, un libro. If I wanted to say the books, los libros. If I wanted to say some books, unos libros. So once again, your articles are ella, los, las, un, una, unos, unas. Ella, los, las are your definite articles. Un, una, unos, unas are your indefinite articles. Now let's go through some nouns. Once again, amigo is a friend. Playa is a beach. Ventana is a window. Libro is a book. Huerta is a door. Bolígrafo is a pen. Bolso is a bag. Taza is a cup. So it's pretty easy to figure out the gender of these nouns. This will be el amigo, el libro, el bolso, la taza, la playa, la ventana, la puerta, el bolígrafo. People run into problems when they come across the nouns that are exceptions. Dia. Now, if you look at the ending, you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, ending in a, so it should be la dia." No, this is your exception, so it is el dia, right? El planeta. Similarly, la foto, la moto, la mano. So keep these exceptions in mind. If you know these exceptions, you know the rest of the nouns that end in o and a are masculine or feminine. These are the only exceptions that you need to know. You have to be careful with minding nouns. Minding nouns are feminine. So problema, el problema. Sistema, el sistema. Idioma, el idioma. Tema, el tema. Crema, el crema. Poema, el poema. So this is all you need to know about the genders of the noun. You just need to be careful with the exceptions. And lastly, the nouns that end in E or any consonants, there's no way of figuring out their gender. You just have to go along with it. You just have to memorize those nouns along with the gender. Now, this is enough for today's class. In the next class, we'll be dealing with some professions and I will also teach you some adjectives. Now, in Spanish language, adjectives always change with the number and the gender of the noun. The adjectives always agree with the number and the gender of the noun. That means all the adjectives are going to have four forms: masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, feminine plural. And that is going to be the same throughout the whole language. Everything is going to be changing with the number and the gender of the noun. That's why it can be a little bit frustrating for English speakers because you don't have genders in English language and you don't change your articles or you don't change your adjectives according to the number and the gender of the noun. But here you have to change everything with the number and the gender of the noun. So in the beginning, it can be a bit tricky, but as you go along, as you keep on studying, as you keep on memorizing these nouns, it becomes really easy. You become familiar with the genders and then you just remember them just like that. In the beginning, yeah, it's a bit annoying and frustrating for English speakers, but after a week or two, you get used to it. Anyway, enough for today's class. In the next class, we are going to be dealing with adjectives. Thank you for joining me. Hasta luego. Adios.